So here's our agenda for today. We're going to start off with District Governor Chris Waugh. I always like this meeting because it's the first opportunity for the new district governor to address the district. I'm sure she's probably already been out this first week into some clubs, but it's always great to have this first one where we get to hear from our newest district governor. Got a few announcements that we want to make, then some comments from our new district Rotary Foundation Chair, Rick Olson. And we're going to do a little look back, year-end recap of last year, and then he's going to introduce the district foundation team. Then Hal and I are going to do an update on the current district grant proposals that are in the queue. And Julie has arranged for a presentation on an active grant that's going on in Ukraine. So something to look forward to there. And then we'll end with the 3 grant proposals that you all will be voting on for the approval of the DDF request. And this is a great opportunity for me to say, particularly for those of you that are new to this format, being at this meeting, you are one of the voters. You are in control of our money. We're kind of our district is rare in this matter, that it's not district leadership, it's not just a few people who are making the decisions on which grants get to go forward, but it's our membership. And by coming to this meeting and casting your vote at the appropriate time, you are part of that process. So welcome, and I encourage you to actively participate and ask your questions there. So next up, as I said, is District Governor Chris Waugh from she's actually the satellite club of Eugene Southtown. And Chris, welcome. It's great to have you with us this morning. And Chris, good morning.
Thank you. And I'm so excited to be here as the district governor. I've been to lots of grant meetings and I'm always impressed. In fact, the grant meeting format that we have is kind of what I based my 2-minute speech on that I had to give at Zone and at Pels. My speech was, why Rotary? People ask us, why Rotary? What's so cool about Rotary? And my first answer was always, well, we're the largest service organization in the world, and we make a big impact around the world, in our communities and in ourselves. And you can just hear the violins in the background because I'm singing to the choir, right? But somebody asked me, she said, Eugene, Oregon has 2,200 nonprofits. They all have passionate people and worthy causes, and they all need volunteers and they all need money. Yet I have to pay to join Rotary? Why Rotary? And then she says, my dues are $24 a month. Where's that money go? And I looked at our financial statements and I saw that the money that you pay for dues, in our club anyway, goes to having a club. It pays international dues, it pays district dues, and it pays things like QuickBooks and marketing and that kind of stuff. So basically, it's just the cost of doing business of it as a club. But I couldn't go back to her and say, that's where your dues go. So I had to dig deeper. And then I looked at, what do our dues yield? And this is where our grants come in. Our dues in my satellite club yields 450% return on its investment. In other words, $108 a month goes out to service projects around the world, into youth projects, community service projects, scholarships. $108 out of my little $24 a month dues. Because Rotary really knows how to leverage our resources. And that's what's so special about Rotary. Those other $2,200 or 2,200 nonprofit organizations can't say that, but we can. And the proof will be in today's meeting. So I congratulate you all for being Rotarians, all for participating in the grants process, and for leveraging our funds to do more good. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Couldn't agree more.
I know, I'm singing to the choir.
Well, no, but that's good to remind us, and also that we're really going to see that leveraging happen today in a big way, and that's when it comes home. So thank you very much for starting off that message for us. Okay, I'm going to bring this back up again. So we're going to start off with a couple of announcements today. Rick, you want to talk about our next important dates that are coming up?
Yeah, happy to. What we sat down and discussed was how can we most efficiently operate as a foundation committee, knowing that there are people out there that are in the remote areas. So the decision of the exec committee from last year was that let's do 3 grant meetings during the year, and if we could do 2 of them as a Zoom call, it would probably get the greatest attendance. And it's really about we love being in person, but we also love to interact with as many people as possible. And when we can do some of these as Zoom meetings, our attendance seems to go way up. So the dates coming up, we're going to do this meeting today as a Zoom call. October 4th will kind of be our big meeting. We're probably going to have it in the Eugene area, but not sure. We're trying to still get venues. It's kind of the only Saturday that the football teams at Oregon and Oregon State don't have a game. So we're competing with a lot of different organizations. So it'll be somewhere between Roseburg and here, but it'll be a big day. We'll do the grants meeting in the morning. That's also when the nominating committee will have their candidates. So that night we will do another Denim to Diamonds. We love the theme that Cindy came up with last year, and everybody seemed to resonate for that type of program. So we will have that in the evening where we'll have the speeches of the candidates. So it'll be kind of a full day. So put that on your calendar. There'll be more information coming. Vicki Pullitz, many of us know her through trainings in the past and when she was doing membership and a whole bunch of things. She's now a trustee at the foundation, and we're going to try and reach out and see if we can have her there. So it'll be a great evening. And then our final one will be February 7th, and Leanne will talk a little more about why February 7th. Basically, the reason in a nutshell is to get grants through completion at RI. By the time you fill them out, get them reviewed, submit them, and get them funded, takes time. And if we go much later, in the past we did an April meeting. Anything we did in April, you couldn't get funded in that program year. So for the efficiency of making sure all our dollars are out there and working, we're going to put it on February 7th. It'll be a Zoom meeting, and then there's an exec meeting of the foundation that'll occur in the afternoon as a separate Zoom meeting where we'll look at next year. So we'll already have an understanding of the ratios of what we can give out the following year, what rules we're going to do, how we're going to ask for grants, anything we can do better. So that's kind of the highlight of the timeline. Big thing to know is there's only 3 instead of 4 grants meeting this year.
Right. Thank you, Rick. And so what you may notice is that we're changing the language from, it's obviously not quarterly anymore. So summer, fall, and winter will kind of be the verbiage as we're going forward with that. So thank you. Does anyone else have any announcements that kind of affect district-wide but are related to grants in the foundation? You can unmute yourself and speak. Okay, being too easy on me. So moving through the agenda, I think it's important to take not only planning for where we're going this year, but take a look back at last year. And what I'm showing on these slides is year over year comparison. So the 23-24 Rotary year to the 24-25 Rotary year. Reading down the left-hand column, the annual fund, that's the money, and we're going to expand on this later in the program, but that's the money that finances the district and global grants. The Polio Plus speaks for itself. You can see the increase. Jane and her team did a wonderful job of increasing the donations to the Polio Plus to get those matches at the foundation level. The endowment, so there are several programs under what Rotary sponsors looking at endowment and what you can do with your estate planning. And we had a large gift made that way by one of our Rotarians. So you see that big bump, excuse me, year over year with $340,000 that went into the endowment fund from somebody's estate. The other part mostly captures what clubs are putting into grants. So that's mostly where that money comes from. Looking at those bottom totals, because of that large endowment gift, you see the big bump, and we did hit our $1 million mark last year, which is a huge congratulations to everyone involved in each of those programs of the Rotary Foundation and bringing that funding in. Before we go on, I think something that really stands out to me, and not in a good way, for the annual fund in 2023, 15% of our clubs didn't give any money to Polio Plus, and 10% of the clubs didn't give any money to the annual fund. Think about that. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. There was some improvement last year. 3 clubs didn't give to the annual fund, and 4 clubs did not give to Polio Plus. But obviously the bottom line is we have work to do. And Rick and I have talked about that. I know he'll talk with his members on the team who are specifically going to focus on that, and we'll hopefully make some big improvements there. The other thing I wanted to share with you, remember those numbers that we just went over? Cindy, you've got your hand up?
I just wanted to mention that although, it doesn't get reported by RI and the totals like we see in your chart, and thank you very much for the chart, that during the $1 Million Dinner campaign, we raised $600,000 in endowment pledges. And that's significant because we also strongly encourage people to earmark their future endowment gifts, the interest to the annual fund share. And so, in reality, although there's a realized gift of $339,000 to the endowment, we have another $600,000 added to that $1 million that we raised last year in pledges. So thank you to everyone who participated in getting our pledges out there for the future, thinking ahead. Anyway, thanks, Leanne.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. And I think you bring up a point that you mentioned, the interest. So the corpus of that money, is going to go forward to spin off interest, but we get that back, and I believe, Hal, it's about $37,000 annually that comes back to us. That from the interest on that endowment that's split between between district and global grants. So significant to consider the impact that makes, those gifts. Linda, did you have a comment?
No, I have accidentally unmuted.
Oh, okay. No harm, no foul. Thank you.
Leanne, I have a comment. This is Steve Mathis.
Steve, good morning.
So the current amount that comes to DDF from the endowment is $37,123.
Okay, so we're staying consistent with that. That's a great number. Thank you, Steve. So I kind of want to expand the conversation here. I think part of the benefit of this meeting is we have an opportunity maybe to do some passive learning. So I'm going to take that. We all experience Rotary at the club level. We come to these district meetings, which kind of expands that conversation. I want to go one step more. You see Oregon here, the little sun that I put on that. Our district is part of a zone. And if you can see in this small drawing, I just lost my cursor, there's a red screwy little line that goes through here. North of that line is zone 27, and south of that is zone 26. And just as a bird walk from that zone pairing 26 and 27, a special committee of Rotarians within those 2 districts, we get to elect the director that sits on the board of directors for Rotary International from that area. So that's a little bit of the governance that happens there. This was a report out for up to May of last Rotary year, and there's some significant numbers on here for us and all of our sister districts there that I wanted to share with you. Our zone worldwide, so this is really those 2 zone pairings, or actually this is just for zone 27, so everything north of that red dotted line, was number 1 in the world for donating to Polio Plus. We were number 3 in the world for total contributions, just like that list, previous slide I showed you, all of those contributions to the Rotary Foundation. Number 4 in the world specifically for cash donations to the endowment, and number 5 for that annual fund, with a number 5 in the world per capita to the annual fund of almost $200 annually. So some pretty significant numbers there. And coming out of our zone, you can see which states and which districts are part of that. But we are, bottom line, we are very generous donors and much appreciated. 5110, our districts, there are about 535 districts worldwide for Rotary. They take the top 50 districts in the world, and because of that $1 million dinner, and because of the generosity of our Rotarians, we were number 43 out of the top 50 districts in the world for total giving by exceeding that $1 million mark. And I wanted to share that. I think those are some pretty impressive statistics going back to what District Governor Chris said. Why should I join Rotary? Well, that's one of the impacts. So a huge congratulations to everybody, the foundation team, to District Governor Nelson, and to District Rotary Foundation Chair Cindy, and the entire team and all of our membership for the giving from the heart. It's really appreciated and is making an impact. The last slide here is, again, expanding out into the greater Rotary world. And for those of you that went to Calgary, you certainly see the impact of Rotary around the world. Together, we did 1,210 global grants, funded 69 disaster response grants, and provided 1 billion doses of the polio vaccine to 270 million kids in 36 countries. That's pretty impactful when we all come together and can make that impact. So again, pat yourselves on the back. Rotarians can do a lot of good in this world. So kind of continuing that theme about the zone, annually, those 2 zone pairings that I showed you in that map will host what's called a Zone Institute. It's kind of like a mini Calgary, is that there are speakers, and there's a House of Friendship, and there's booze, and there's lots of information sharing. Rotary Senior Leadership is there, and it can be very energizing. I forget, within the last 5 years, it changed where anyone can attend that Zone Institute. This year, it's going to be in October in Albuquerque. So if you can't make it to one of the international conventions, I really encourage you to look at, go to Zone 2627 website and look at the itinerary for this and see if you might want to join us in Albuquerque. Specifically now at that institute in the excuse me, in the fall, there's going to be a special session called Shark Tank, and Tim and I are the chairs of this, and I actually sent out early notice to all of you on the grant attendee mailing list about this event, because it specifically affects us that are doing global grants and seeking funding right now. So to review that very quickly, this is called the Big West Zone Institute. You see the official title there. So we're seeking applications for global grants that need additional funding. From those, we're going to select 3 finalists, and they're going to be on stage where they can, there's about attendance of 500 people there, plus they'll be provided a booth in the House of Friendship at no charge, where you can continue to share your project concept and seek donations. And the sharks, if you will, we're kind of using that model, are going to be Trustee Vicky, past Director Dan. There'll be a representative for next year's incoming RI president. Apparently there was some visa issues there, but so he will not be there, but his representative will be there. And current Trustee Greg Pott. They will be the sharks. So I think it's a great opportunity. Registration for this is waived, and rooms have been set aside. So if you're looking, I know we've got a couple grants coming up in October for a presentation. So if you're needing more money or want to expand your grant project, this might be something that you would want to consider. And I have a short video from Trustee Greg Pott to kind of expand on the concept a little.
Good morning. My name is Greg Todd, and I have the honor and the privilege to serve as your trustee of the Rotary Foundation. My question to all of you, are you ready to turn your passion into action? This year at the Big West Zone Institute in Albuquerque, we're launching an exciting first, the Big West Shark Tank. In a high-energy Shark Tank style, 3 finalists will take the stage to pitch their global grant projects live to an impressive panel of Rotary Sharks and a room full of potential supporters. It's your chance to showcase your passion, your purpose, and the impact your project can have on the world. And the opportunity doesn't stop there. Each finalist will receive a complimentary booth in the House of Friendship, giving you extended exposure throughout the entire Institute. Imagine connecting with Rotarians and funders who believe in your vision, soliciting donations, building awareness, and sparking potential collaborations. Here's how it works. First of all, complete a pitch packet to tell us all about your global grant project. You can find it on the Zone 2627 website under the Institute information. Complete the application and submit it no later than September 1, 2025. We will select 3 finalists and notify you by September 21st. Then live on stage Thursday night, our finalists will pitch to an incredible panel of sharks, including myself, Trustee Vicky, Director Wynn, and Rotary International President-elect Sanku. And don't worry, you won't be doing this alone. Each finalist will be paired with a Rotary cadre member, offering expert coaching to refine your pitch and sharpen your final grant applications. We do want you to shine and succeed. This is more than just a session. It's a launch pad for impact, a chance to connect, to collaborate, and to bring your bold thoughts to life. You've been thinking about these possibilities. Now the time is to bring them to reality. District leadership, please share this with your clubs, and we will see you at the Big West Shark Tank.
If you need it and are interested in finding out more information, you can shoot this QR code and it'll take you to the relative information on the page that Greg was talking about.
Lee, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely, Tim.
The thing that I'm excited about is that our grant meetings are unique in the Rotary world. And this Shark Tank, even though it's called Shark Tank, is essentially what we do at our grant meetings, where clubs can present their grants for approval and then ask for additional resources if they need it. And so this is on a much grander scale that the global grants will have an opportunity for funding from other districts, DDF, and cash from those in the audience who support their cause.
Yeah, great point, Tim. And you're like, well, why are you showing this? Well, that is certainly one of the points, but I'm just as the district exists to support our clubs and our Rotarians and what, our passions, what drives us and what we want to do, particularly in this arena that we're talking about this morning with our grants, is that the zone is there to support the districts and the Rotarians within that. And as Tim has said very well, this is an opportunity to partner and collaborate and think bigger. And so I'm really grateful to the senior leadership in our zone that's been thoughtful and visionary about this and putting this opportunity together so we can get more programs out there, more projects, and people can leverage that. So thanks for listening, and if you have any more questions about that, please contact Tim or I and check it out. Okay, Rick, our district foundation chair, you are up.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We're obviously sitting here 12 days in the start of the new year, and many of you are probably going, okay, I'll create a file folder on my computer for whatever activities I want to do in this new Rotary year. I can tell you from the standpoint of the foundation, it only works if it has consistency moving forward. I would like to start out and say that I'm sitting here today honored to be the chair for the next 3 years of this, but it's kind of like being district governor or club president. This didn't happen without Cindy and Tim and Leanne and Hal and Steve and the team helping me understand where we are, the challenges we face, and everything else. So our success last year was because of the decision of all of the team from last year to say, let's go look at some different areas, the endowment, the major gifts, the bequest, starting to get out some of the other programs, the Triple Crown. So I have to start out by saying a big, huge thank you to Cindy, because Cindy, was the chair. She came and sat down with me and convinced me that I should probably follow her, but that didn't come without a lot of training. So I really have to say the success of what we do this year and the next 2 years is really an ongoing program of how do we build from where we are. When we look at what we do, we have to realize that we're 12 days into it, but there's been a tremendous amount of work that has gone on. Cindy had to complete last year's formal reporting of what's called the block grant. So just a quick little brief thing there. All of the grants that we want to do within the district that are district DDF grants get put into a major block grant. So she had to finish out the report last year because RI will not fund this year till her report was done. Kudos to her and Jim Polk and Leanne and Hal for getting all the data in so we got it done. Parallel to that, there was training that had to be done by our district governor, governor-elect nominee, myself, that you had to go take training classes to get certified as a district to be able to receive funds. And I wish to thank the whole leadership team for going and sitting in and taking those classes online. Then we had to sit down and put this year's together. And Hal just said, we got to be in there early. We want them in there. We want them put in June so that we're on the top of the pile come July 1. So we did. I sat down, took multiple nights. As you all had to submit your grants so that we knew what they were, but it didn't stop there. It took Tim and Leanne and Hal and a couple others to review those to make sure that they were the right wording, that they were the right focus, they met an RI requirement, that RI wouldn't push back and say, by the way, sorry, that grant isn't complete. Lots of phone calls back and forth as we built them out. We got it all done. We actually submitted it in June. And believe it or not, probably Hal can probably speak to it. One of the earliest funding releases from RI we've seen at the district, we have received our district block grant. So the money will be flowing, but the work still isn't done. So right now we're 12 days into it. We have done a huge amount of heavy lifting to get us to this point. But where we're at right now is clubs need to, one, make sure they've paid their dues. Second of all, that they've done, and Leanne will cover this, that you've got your MOUs in place and the requirements that physically have to be done for the money to go out. If you had a grant last year, you have to complete the grant. So, the grant reporting. So Hal has already got the list, so he's educating all of us on what's out there. So that's kind of a housekeeping thing, and Leanne will touch more on that. But kudos to all the clubs that submitted. Kudos to the clubs that submitted that actually took the time to make sure in their initial submission that they had met the right requirements in there for what was the area of focus, who was going to be the target audience, who was going to be impacted, the steps that went through. So with that, we start looking at this year's team. So Leanne, I think we have a slide on this year's team.
I do.
So when we look at what's going on, once again, we have rollover some tremendous resources that are out there. We also have some blanks. And I think as we get going this year, you'll see some things coming from my emails that'll speak to not only the incredible resources, but where we have some gaps. So if you look on it on the left, there's a question mark for what's called the fund development side of what we do. That was the position I had. As I move up, it's an open position. And that person in that one would be looking at all the different ways that we can bring money in, and we have a team below it that's there. One person I'll note, he's on here today, Bob Worsing, who is doing the Paul Harris Society, asked if he could step down this year. We've already had the meeting. Jay Silverman out of the Eugene Club is going to come on board and do that. But we have, Kirk Brown still in there, Jane Falls still in there, and Steve Mathis still in there doing the other components. And so we're kind of good there. We have, obviously Hal Kibbe is, just a great resource going across. for what we have going out there, for looking at the money side and the stewardship. Stewardship's very important to what we do. When we look, Jim Polk did a great job helping get last year's reports out. He was all done. The incoming treasurer is new, Jim, and I hope I don't screw this all up. Lebefer is coming in to take that position. He's already on board and been getting everything done for what we need to do and be in place so that the funds can come in. We're properly getting them. How Kibby then is looking for the compliance side. And then Leanne sits over the total grant. And going down, we've had a vacancy for the district grant chair that Leanne's been covering both roles. And then when we go down, we have Julie Giucaro sitting in there that'll continue doing the global grants. We've got Chuck Root, who's doing the global scholar chairs, and Michelle, who is our district governor nominee elect, is does the peace component, the peace fellowship. You know, Tim Mobley is one of the group that does the review that's on there, so they're there. But we know during this year that we got to do two things. We got to continue to get the fuel via funding to help make sure that 3 years from now, we have the money there coming back in the annual fund share that helps fund all the things that we're doing that we'll be talking about today. So last year you saw a lot of my emails and push from Cindy and myself was looking at the legacy side of what we're going to do. And we're going to continue to push that. I've already done the data analysis of the number of members that have hit 72 and may have mandatory distributions coming out of their pensions. We're going to continue to educate that side, but we're also going to continue to educate the Polio Plus side of what we do and the Paul Harris side of what we do. So the job really is twofold. There's a big experienced team that's going to raise the fuel for the engine. And then we've got the other side, which is then doing the good through the projects that were out there. But to that side, everybody that's on this call, especially if you're newer or maybe you've been to a few of these, we have some people that really want to have some shadows with them. You know, like anything else, look within your club. We're moving over to newer members and younger members that are getting involved as we try and transition. We have some people that will be trying to transition over the next couple of years, and we need to have people step up and say, I'd like to learn more about it. And if they'll say they want to learn more about it, Julie Gicheros is one that we need. She's willing to go one more year, but wants a shadow under her. There are a couple others that are saying, you know, this may happen too. If you have any interest in serving, come forward, you know, let us know, and we'll have you shadow or at least talk to learn more about it. We cannot let the foundation committee not be in place and be properly trained, because to support all of you to do the grants that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes has to happen with an experienced support team. So, you know, one of our goals is how do we look at succession transition moving forward over the next 3 years to ensure that we've got a strong team. That said, I'm very excited at the work we're doing. I'm elated at what we were able to raise last year. I was elated at Steve Mathis getting out and letting people know you were this close to having a triple crown. And in most cases, it was a very small thing they had to do. So the Paul Harris Society will be one we'll be pushing. Obviously, those that want to be triple crown, those that want to think about it. I just want to thank everybody for being on today. You know, my job is to support the team. The team's job is to figure out what each of you want to be able to support it. So Leanne, thanks for letting me go longer than I should. You should have cut me off, but there you go.
No cutting you off, boss. There you go. Just to kind of put an asterisk on what Rick said, this is a great group of people to serve with, and certainly putting our money to work, which is what all of us, you know, want to have happen when we donate that money. This is a wonderful place to put that into action. So I would strongly encourage any of you that are joining us today to consider this, or at least find out more about it, because it's really been fun. So kind of along those lines, I thought this might be the next part of our next half of this meeting is, you know, the good stuff about spending that money, what we're doing with our district grants and what we're doing with our global grants. So I thought for our new Rotarians that are on the call, and it never helps to do a refresher or review, I thought we'd talk about the money. You know, a couple slides ago, showed you the money that has come in through the various channels, various funding annual fund being the one that particularly is important to us when we are talking about our grant programs. You see that at the top, the annual fund share. So I thought I'd take a minute again to do this review and break this down as we head into the rest of our program today. So when you and I make a donation to the annual fund, that's the important one when it comes to the grants, that 3 years later, roughly half of that money comes back to the district in district designated funds. You keep hearing us talk about DDF, DDF, DDF. That comes back. The other roughly half goes into the World Fund. From the money that we get to the district, this is held by the foundation until, as Rick just said, we put in requests for our district grants for this year, and then we get that money to disperse to our clubs. So it doesn't physically come until that point. At least by terms and conditions of the Rotary Foundation, at least half of that money that came to the district, that we can kind of designate how we want to use it, must go to global grants. That's its own bucket. And then the remaining balance goes to the district grants for funding using the DDF. This district has consistently declared that we would split it 50-50. So going back to the top, that $1.50 comes back to the district, then we split it again, a quarter and a quarter going towards district grants and going towards global grants. We have a strong participation in district grants, so we support that equally with the other side. This next slide, let's put some actual dollars with it. Let me get myself out of the way here. So you saw on that chart earlier that about you and I donate collectively together about $500,000 to the annual fund every year. So again, 3 years later, roughly half of that comes back to the district side, and half of it goes to the World Fund side. Again, we do the split. Half of it goes to the DDF for district grants, and the remaining goes to the DDF for global grants. And for those of you who are the grant authors or who participate in up close and personal with the district grants, you know that there's a 1-to-1 match then out of that district grant DDF bucket up to $2,000 for your club projects there. So then what happens to this World Fund, those yellow boxes that I was talking about? Again, half of our money that you and I give goes over there. So, and we're going to see this happen today. So here's the district portion of that. We will hear 3 global grant proposals. The club has raised club cash. And for each dollar that they raise from the district side, they get matched 2-to-1 for district DDF. From this World Fund, this is where our money supports our sister clubs around districts around the world. There is a match of the district DDF at 80%. So club cash plus the district's global grant DDF, plus the World Fund money, that gets you to your project. So that, again, goes back to what District Governor Chris said earlier. Why would I want to join Rotary when I have all these other opportunities? Because when do you get to spend the money that you give to a foundation? And this is, I think, a really amazing model where we have a chance to have hands-on control over our money, and you're going to see that demonstrated today. Tim, I'm going to pause there. Do we have any questions, or do we need to open it up? We've kind of been moving through our agenda.
There's nothing in the chat at this point.
Okay, perfect. Okay, moving on to our district grant updates. Hal and I wanted to let you know where we're at with this year's applications and proposals. For the 25-26 Rotary year, we received a lot of high and medium priority grants from our clubs. Unfortunately, because we had a set pot, remember that slide I just showed you, that bucket where we have the DDF set aside for the district grants, we had more proposals than we had money for. So we followed our district Rotary Foundation policy manual, and 2 of those were unfortunately selected and could not be funded. So we ended up with, we have 64 project applications that are being worked on now. So all of those will be funded once we get everybody qualified and once we get all the applications complete. Your money going to work, there's 128,850 in the DDF on the district's grant side, and that translates to almost $260,000 in projects that your clubs, our clubs in our district around the world are doing. So again, it's a great leverage of our money. And it really going to work. This is one of the reasons I really like doing the district grant reviews, because our clubs are creative in what they're doing and very impactful in each of the areas that is important to those clubs. And it's really fun to see everything that they're doing. Hal, I'm going to bring you in here. Do you want to talk about our next steps on these next 2 slides?
Yeah, we still have several district grant final reports from 24-25 that need to be completed. As of this morning, there were 42 that still needed to complete final, or there were 42 projects, not necessarily 42 clubs, because some clubs have 2 projects, but there were 42 grants that still needed final reports from 24-25. We also have 20 clubs where I do not have a club MOU that needs to be completed for club qualification. Now, a couple of those might be clubs where I sent the MOU back because they weren't properly signed. And all of this has to be done before September 1st. There's still 12 clubs where the either the club treasurer or the grant author has not completed training yet for this year, and that needs to be done before we actually will distribute the money. So there's a little bit of work to be done yet on club qualification.
Right, and Hal, it's my understanding that Kim, the district treasurer, has sent out the district dues invoices, but that the RI invoices are not available yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, and as of yesterday, nobody had paid district dues either. So looking at Kim's spreadsheet last night, nobody's paid district dues. Well, she doesn't have a record of anybody paying district dues yet. You know, they get mailed in, and it may just be that she hasn't gone to the post office. But yes, I understand Kim has sent that out. RI invoices usually go out in late July, so between the middle of July and the late July. So, but I do check the RI invoices 3 or 4 times a week to keep up on RI dues being paid. And the district dues usually get updated twice a week when Kim goes to the post office.
Okay, so more work to do. Nobody can start their grant projects yet. What's your best estimate on when Jim Lefebvre will start, you know, once you and I and Tim approve the grants and the club qualification process, that people could start anticipating getting their funding?
Well, since we've already got the block grant approved, it really depends upon getting the dues done. So I'm going to guess this year it's going to be sometime in early August, maybe middle of August, before we start sending out checks. But things at this point are really going to be dependent upon clubs getting their dues paid, clubs getting their grants done and the training done and so on. Because I think that the District Grants Committee, the 2 of you and me, have most of the preliminary reviews of the district grants done, and the clubs already know what they need to do to complete that too. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be middle of August this year.
Okay, great. Thank you. Tim, I'll pause there. Has anybody got any questions about club qualification and completing the grants and being able to plan at the club level for starting their 25-26 district grant projects?
Nope, nothing in the chat.
Gosh, we're doing a good job this morning. Okay. So you've heard these names come up, but again, there's your contact information for your 3 grant reviewers. We split the alphabet. Tim's got the beginning, I've got the middle, and Hal's got the end. And again, you know who we are and which clubs are working with because we have already made that in contact with you. But we'll just continue moving forward and support you in getting your club with all the qualifications processes checked off, and also getting your grant application in good shape and ready to go forward so we can start making those projects happen. So thank you.
Lee, could I make a quick comment?
Absolutely.
So in reviewing the grant applications, there's some confusion when I contact people regarding the difference between a complete grant application and club qualification. And Hal went over and talked about what it takes to get a club qualified. And so it's important as you review your grant that the applications are complete so that when your club is qualified, then you can be funded for your project.
Yep. 2 steps. Yep. Exactly. Thank you.
Leanne?
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm seeing that is missing in a lot of the grant applications this year is the bank statement that shows a low or zero balance at the beginning of the year. So just a reminder to clubs that we do need district grant bank statements that show a low balance attached to their grant.
Right. Yep. I saw the same thing. Yeah. Thank you. Well, it's not even 10 o'clock yet. I thought we'd be closer to kind of a halfway through here. And was obviously, you can see by the dancing cat, was going to give us a little break. But how do people feel? Do you want to just keep going? I mean, we're clipping right through here. You guys have been a great audience because we've shared a lot of material.
Keep going.
Keep going, Jim says. All right. Cat's getting tired. Okay, Julie, to the most fun, best part of the program, as far as I'm concerned, is our global grants and the 3 applications that we have pending and the presentations that we're going to hear. So I'll bring you up. And again, before I turn this over to Julie, I want to remind all of you, when I post the vote for the question on the grant proposal that's in front of you, everybody gets to vote who's on this call. Thank you. Julie, welcome.
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here this morning. It's still cool enough to be out on the deck, so trying to take advantage of that, given the fact that I have 2 noisy grandsons and in my house. So it's a little quieter out here, hopefully. So welcome, everyone. And so this is our vision for our global grants, which we've had now for several years. And this is what we're working towards, making good progress towards, which is that we will have, will be recognized as the best district at writing global grants in our zone pairing. Again, that's the zone that Leanne outlined for us earlier in this meeting. And we will create and maintain a positive reputation built around who we partner with and how we construct and execute our global grant projects. And I think what I want to really emphasize there is the partnership aspect of this. What we find is that is kind of a multi-layer thing, because of course we need to partner with the host club that we're working with in the country that the projects are going to be implemented. That's the first level of partnership. But many of our global grants also include partnerships between NGOs or nonprofits that also exist in those countries, and sometimes government organizations that exist in those countries. And when we do that and we're able to increase that partnership at that level, it really increases the efficacy of what we're doing. Because as international partners, we can't know the intricacies of working with that population and with that country and with that community in the same way that people who are boots on the ground there have that experience. So those partnerships are really important as well. So the more we partner, and we've certainly learned that in our own district, that we've done many things that we couldn't do as individual clubs. And when we partner with other people, we really are able to make progress towards achieving this vision statement. Can we go to the next slide?
Julie,
Okay, oh, sorry,
introduce your guest from Corvallis and then talk.
sure. So, this is really a pretty amazing project that we're going to be hearing about. It actually is completed, in terms of the project itself. The reporting still needs to be done. And I'm very happy to introduce this project to you. And I'm not quite sure who's going to do the presentation. I know that's kind of gone back and forth.
It might be Ken.
Okay.
Oh,
But this project, sponsored by the Rotary Club of Corvallis, let me back up a little bit and say that this is one of our consortium, our Global Grant Consortium projects. That means that there are multiple clubs that are working together in a region to support global grants in their region. So this is a result of that type of partnership. And then also, this is a very creative use of a vocational training team. So a more typical vocational training team would be that we are sending people from this country into another country to train them. We had one in our district that went into Malawi. We had health workers come into Malawi and train local health officials there. And this one is somewhat different because it is working with training people in Ukraine to help returning veterans coming back from the war develop vocational skills that they need to be employed hopefully in post-war Ukraine, but in terms of what's going on right now. So asynchronous,
Synchronous.
that's the word. Anyhow, online learning, but meaning that is happening for the Ukrainian veterans, their families, and disabled persons. So it's really an amazing project, and it was extremely complex getting it off the ground. And I really want to applaud Rob Thurston for his work in just being very tenacious and not giving up on all the various things that he had and hoops he had to jump through in order to get this very successful project off the ground. So I'd like to turn it over to the team that's presenting, and they're going to walk you through what they did.
All right. Go ahead, Rob. Give us a little bit of context, and then we'll go.
Well, thank you, Julie, and thank you, Leanne, too. This project was teamwork, and it started at home, and it started with our clubs, the clubs we worked with, and you guys at the district, and between us, we managed to get this through. What I'd just like to say briefly is that you very well introduced what the project did, so I won't go through that. What we'll do today, though, we'll talk a little bit about just, again, recapping what the project was trying to do. Project in a nutshell, and Ken will give us a lot more detail on that. The whole idea of building partnerships and relationships is a second theme that we'll talk a little bit about today, because it was just crucial in a very complex project, and it took unusual steps to manage and get it all pulled together. And I'll talk a little bit about that. As you mentioned, we were dealing with a country that's at war, and there were lots of complications all along the way. But we will talk about how some of those issues that we confronted and how we were able to deal with them. And Ken and Karen Tim, who is also one of our 7, I think we have 8 people on our project team. We'll talk to that later. Karen and Ken will give us a little more information on that. And then I think we'll just like to finish off with a bit about next steps, what we're doing to finish off this project, and what more needs to be done. And then we'll have some questions. So I'll hand it over to Ken, who is our team leader.
All right. What I'd like to do is just cover the project in a nutshell. Basically, thousands of Ukrainian veterans and family members move, and IDPs, which are internally displaced persons, moved to the western Ukraine, close to Uzhhorod, which is our sister city there. They need employment. Hundreds of firms have also located there and need employees. The vocational training team, we traveled to Koshitsa and trained 29 Uzhnu faculty to develop online asynchronous courses for veterans and other non-traditional students. And we also provided 6 UJNU leaders an intensive orientation course at OSU on institutionalizing this program in their university there, and expanding these courses with attention to veterans' needs. 3 courses are already set for the fall semester. 3 others are in progress, more expected. Now, getting feedback from participants on further assistance needed to expand and improve offerings and train others.
Thanks, Ken. As I said, the one thing I'll just say up front, we had a lot of support for this project because it resonated. It resonated with Rotarians to be able to do something constructive in Ukraine. And believe me, there's a lot of issues that Rotary was attending to in Ukraine that have been disrupted, but this is one we could move forward on in a positive way. But as good as we felt about this project, we Rotarians, I can't express the amount of appreciation the Ukrainians indicated, not only because we were there to do a project that was meaningful, but we were standing at their side by side, helping them during a time of great national stress. Very good. So I'll talk a little bit about the partnerships and relationships. As Ken mentioned, we Corvallis and Uzhhorod, Ukraine, have been engaged in a sister cities program for 30 years. So we have a ton of people and experiences going back and forth. It's a very active sister cities program. And that was a basis, and including within that, we had actually engaged the Sister Cities program and engaged trainers from OSU on remote learning to do some training prior for Ukrainian English teachers. So we had a basic network of personal contacts that made the discussion of what to do next possible. We also coattailed on a grant that the Regional Economic Development Agency in that part of Ukraine and the university had started. This was to get embassy funding. And so a lot of groundwork had been done in terms of the needs assessment and things like that, which would have been more complicated for us to be involved in. However, because of the cessation of aid and various things that were going on, they were kind of left in a lurch. And so we were able to see an opportunity for Rotary to step in and fill a gap in a program that already had quite a bit of local commitment. So that was a huge advantage. Our sister cities representatives, Carol Truba, Ken's wife, and Pete Bober actually traveled to Uzhhorod and were able to speak with the Rotary Club of Skala, Uzhhorod Skala, to talk to them about their interest in working with us and with the university there to do the program. That was key because it was very hard for us to start this discussion without having the groundwork laid of friendships and communication. People were already accustomed to working together. And so they were able to connect us with the Rotary Club there. On our local side, as you had mentioned earlier, Julie, we're working I think there are 7 or 8 clubs now. We call it our collaborative group for global grants. And we're a combine, and we pooled our money to pool money and resources and talent and experience together to help each other do global grants. So this was actually the first one that we were able to launch. Those clubs involved, I'll just mention them. It was, in addition to our club, there was a Greater Corvallis Club, the Corvallis After 5 Club, the Rotary Club of Albany, the Rotary Club of Greater Albany, Rotary Club of Lebanon, and Florence and Newport. We were all together and pooling our resources and talent. because we had an expanded project team, we had, I think there were 8 people on our project team, actively involved people making the project, pulling it together, each with their own responsibilities. We'll speak to that a little bit. But because of the network that we had to begin the project, we were able to also get a donation of 44 laptop computers from NewScale Power. Trudy Oberlin of the Tuesday Club, Tuesday After 5, was able to work with her organization, and those then were sent to the veteran service centers, so veterans who did not have computers at home could actually begin accessing these courses through using the computers. So that was a big step. Again, this project had a significant appeal. We were able to get more money than we actually needed for the grant from individual Rotarians who said, "I don't care. You can use the money in and around your project," including a significant donation from the Rotary Club of Hermiston. Thanks to Leanne's contact with District 5100 and the past district governor there, they stepped forward and said, "Yes, we would like to contribute." So in the end, that turned out to be pretty strategic because while we weren't quite aware of what we're getting into when we started a vocational training team project, we soon realized there are many limitations on what you can do with those. Even if they're related to training, sometimes you can't do them. But we had the extra possibilities to address some of those issues by these additional resources that were given to us. We were also, I want to say that as we'll discuss, the project, we actually ended up engaging not only our own districts for support, and the district in Ukraine for support, and the club in Ukraine to support. But as we'll discuss in a moment, we actually had to move the project site from Uzhgorod across the border to Slovakia because we could not fund travel of American citizens to Ukraine. We found this out, of course, after we were going along. But we were able to do that. So we also entered in a relationship with the Rotary Club of Kosice and also got support from their district. So it became a multiple party endeavor, to say the least. We were also very lucky. We had budgeted for certain services and for the training that we were going to do. Some of those came free of charge. For example, the European representative for Canvas. Canvas is a learning management system that's used in colleges and high schools here a lot. This is the platform that was going to be used. They brought their own specialist who was from Ukraine originally, spoke Ukrainian, and at no cost to our project. They contributed his time, and he also served to easily help with the translation activities that were needed. So we just found ourselves benefiting from many, many different sources. So rather than go on more, I'm going to ask maybe Ken and Karen a little bit to talk about some of the challenges that we faced and how we were able to overcome those. So I'll pass the baton to you, Ken.
All right. Yeah.
Or am I? Maybe I made a note to myself. I'll talk to a couple points and then I'll pass it to you, Ken and Karen.
Right.
One thing we found out is that there wasn't a lot of detailed guidance on doing a vocational training team program. There were some general things, there were some forms we had to fill out, and we got all that. But as we moved along, we kept finding things we did not know in advance, and we had to make adjustments. Some of those were not necessarily inherent in the vocational training team process, but were a result of externalities. But we were challenging the VTT scheme, if you will, to accommodate situations that probably they wouldn't have normally accommodated. I have to say that in working with the foundation project officer for Ukraine, we got a lot of help, but this woman was tasked with dealing with, I don't know how many clubs in Ukraine had received, in addition to TRF matching money, they had received U.S. Agency for International Development matches on top. So there were a lot of projects in Ukraine in clubs that all of a sudden had the rug pulled out from underneath them because the aid money ceased abruptly. And she had her hands full. So I gave her a lot of credit for giving us the amount of time and attention that she did. But that communication was crucial all along the way. The other issue, I guess, was, as I mentioned, we found that we couldn't send the training team to Uzhgorod, where the university was, and do the training of their faculty there because we couldn't send U.S. Rotarians into Ukraine. Fortunately, it is on the border with Slovakia, and we kind of got a map and we looked, and there was a place called Košice. Looked very close. Looked up Košice, second biggest city in Slovakia. Very active Rotary Club. Good connections again between Pete Bober, who was, as I say, was a Sister Cities rep on our team, and the past district governor there, who was in Košice as a member of that club, and it just happened. We were blessed. We were able to transport the faculty by bus for an hour and 15 minutes over to Košice. That was the plan. And with the help from the Rotary Club in Košice, which was not a party to this project, they went to great ends to help us get the very best deals and facilities and accommodations for managing this training there. So that was really exceptional. And it worked out. Sometimes we weren't sure it was going to work out. Anyway, with that, I'll pass it over to Ken a little bit, because one of the complications we confronted was, normally when you have a project like this, we would send money to our host club, which was in Uzhgorod, and they would set up an account to pay for all the local costs of the training and handle all that. Well, in this case, we were not in Uzhgorod, we were in Košice. So it created a real problem about how to get the funding arranged and managed. And Ken will talk a little bit more about that, but it was a challenge. Ken, do you want to pick it up?
Yeah, we got me set up with a debit card, linked to the grant account. And what we did is I traveled with the team, and I found out some limitations to the debit card as well, and the account is that you can only withdraw so much cash a day, from the machine, and I had to ask for an extension on that in several occasions, and also you can only spend so much on the card a day as well. It's if you're making a transaction. So thankfully, I started that process early. So over several days, I was able to pay most of the amount of what we needed for that hotel, only using my own credit card for some of that and getting reimbursed. So it was a challenge. So, but we managed that.
Could I pitch in here? I just want to say that when we realized the complications, and Tim and Ken had been managed the budgeting part of the project design, we felt that was going to be a huge asset, and that would be viewed as very positive by the foundation, that we had one person in our team in these unusual circumstances that was going to actually administer and manage the funding and disbursements and receipts on site, because that could have been a problem. We were a little dismayed when they said, well, that isn't a justification based on your training purpose for having a team member do this. And fortunately, because we were dealing with veterans and preparing the faculty to train veterans, and specifically, and Ken is a veteran, we were able to recast his role as a veteran trainer, which he actually helped with. But it was really his fiduciary, his financial management role that made the project actually happen as cleanly as it did.
Yeah, the rules for the grant are interesting, and we we found ways to accomplish them, but it was sometimes it was like what a surprise. Like this next surprise was because the technical lead on this whole situation traveled with us. Because she traveled there, she could not receive an honorarium. So that's where Hermiston, the Hermiston Rotary Club came in, is we can use those funds to pay her an honorarium. So it's kind of interesting working around the nuances of the grant. So
I'd add to that, which I found interesting, is that we had put the budget in, when we did our budget and presented the project for approval, we had the honorarium written in for the chief technical leader participant from Oregon State as part of the 3-person team. And no one flagged it until way down the pike. And if we hadn't had that extra money, it would have been very uncomfortable and difficult to have engaged that person as much as we were able to.
Yeah, she's worked a lot more than what that honorarium will cover, but she's done a yeoman's job. The other difficulty we had, because the war was going on, male faculty didn't get their permits to travel, at least until the last minute. The bus had actually left, and they traveled by car over to the site where we had the training. So there was a few hoops to jump through, and working with a country at war. So it was good. We got everybody there and got people trained.
Ken and Rob, we've got about 4 minutes left, please.
Okay, we'll do a wrap up here.
Maybe, Karen, did you want to say a little bit about our arrangement for managing the project? Karen?
Who, me?
Yeah, okay, yeah, don't
No.
worry. You do not, okay.
Go ahead, Rob.
I'll just quickly say,
mention
had
this, or with a slide that's here. This is
our
the
project.
team that came of the faculty and deans and stuff and came here. So second part of the project, just of interest.
What I was going to say is internally and for our management, for developing this project, we had 8 people on our project team. That is, we had 3 of us from our club we had Trudy from the Friday or the Tuesday club. We had 2 representatives from the sister cities who were engaged with us and with this project. And of course we had the host club representative, and we met weekly. And developed a plan every week for what we were going to do the next week. And between all of us, and each having their own role to play, Ken, I have already mentioned, did the budget, and others each had specific communication roles, so we wouldn't be crossing over, and we keep things going forward. It took quite a team effort, and I think sometimes we forget how important it is to have a assigned project team to do a global grant. So I think we can probably cut it off. We are going to go. We will have some money left. Ken's stewardship and the fact that we got a lot of donations that we didn't expect means our project has little money left over. We're looking at how we might use that effectively and within the confines of the VTT grant. And then looking forward to our final evaluation to be able to determine much more how things have proceeded. So that's about it. And thank you all for your time.
And I've got your last little video here. May I play it?
Yes, please. The last was in Ukrainian. Dyakuyu Rotary. Dyakuyu. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, guys. Wonderful work. Yeah, we heard you. So we have just a couple seconds here for questions, or Julie, did you want to make a comment?
I just want to, again, reiterate how flexible and nimble this team was in responding to challenges as they came up. And Rob kept me on the loop and all of the communications. And when I would read through and I'd think, oh my God, is this going to kill the project? Every time I think that was, nope, they found a creative solution, a way to work around, and what it resulted in. So you can see the people that got trained there, but also I want to really, really emphasize again, the relationships that were built and that will continue to be partnerships with these folks as they move forward. And hopefully when we finally have peace in that region, that's when we're going to see all the seeds that we planted with this grant really flower. So again, just amazing to me how tenacious this group was in making this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, earlier throughout the morning that we've spent together, you've heard, these terms about collaboration and partnership and leveraging resources, leveraging human capital, et cetera, et cetera. And again, going back to what Chris said about, why would I choose to be a Rotarian and pay to do that over some of the other nonprofit things that are available in town. But I think this is what makes that choice reality when you have your fellow Rotarians who are taking our dollars, in this grant, and as Julie said, through their persistence, their tenaciousness, their passion, to reach the goal and the objectives that they've identified there is just, that's the bottom line for me. And Rob and Ken and your entire team, you did an amazing job and you pivoted and you made this happen. And I just am so happy for you guys to see this coming together. And
Leanne, I see that Bob Nickel has his hand up, and Bob
Oh, okay.
also did a project in Ukraine. I'm thinking you might want to comment on this a little
Sure,
bit.
Bob, good morning.
Well, good morning. Bob Nickel from the Rotary Club of Eugene. I just wanted to ask a question, whether there's a local contact person for the ongoing activities for disabled veterans. We have a project in the Ivano-Frankivsk, so just east of Uzhgorod. And Springfield Rotary has a project north of Kyiv supplying a medical clinic. So our mental health providers may be in contact with veterans who might benefit from your project. So
And they can get a hold of you directly, Bob?
Yeah, I'll do that. You're Rotary Club of Eugene, is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of Eugene. Okay, but we'll get in touch with you. We would be happy to extend that the relationship.
Yeah, and Bob is presenting another project here today a little bit later. So,
But not
a little bit later. He's coming up next, right?
He's coming up. That's right.
So I have one question, Lee.
Oh, sure, Tim, go ahead, or the questioner.
Well, the question is, what is asynchronous learning?
Thanks for the pronunciation. I just couldn't quite get it out there, Tim.
Basically, essentially, it's remote learning, but it can be done at any time on people's own time. And that fits the needs of these veterans who are often coming back, working part-time, trying to keep their families together, and can't go to a university on a regular schedule. And that is not only for all the returning veterans, it's veterans' spouses, it's veterans' widows, it's 300,000 internally displaced people that moved to Western Ukraine. This allows people to access training and certifications on their own schedule, on their own time frame.
Thanks, Rob.
Can I make a comment? This is Karen, Tim. I think besides this project, this is a chance for basically a quantum shift in education in Ukraine that has historically been very lockstep. And now you have all of these people that need training, and the university there is amazingly stepping up and embracing this and looking at ways to help train these internally displaced people and the veterans.
Thank you, Karen.
And it's going to change education in that area.
Yeah. absolutely. And for us too, you know, so it's just a different way of thinking about this, where everything used to be so time-based and seat time-based, and now it's transforming into something that's more reflective of the world that we live in. So that's a really good point.
I'd like to make one more comment, another kudo for both Ken and Tim, or Rob, pardon me. They did an outstanding job of keeping all the participating Rotary clubs in our area informed every step of the way. So by doing that, they really made all of the participating Rotary clubs feel like they were actively engaged in this project. And it has made it easy. It's so easy for people to speak highly of that I think it's likely that our collaborative group is going to grow by one, if not two more clubs on future grant requests. And again, this is a tribute to how well the communications has been handled on this. Thank you, Ken and Rob.
Thank you.
Okay, well, our next slide up here shows our DDF that we have available for global grants this year. And just to briefly remind folks that we are under a different way of managing our global grant funds in our DDF, and that is that within a 5-year period, once DDF is awarded to us, it must be spent. In our case, in our district, I don't think that's going to be a problem, because we may exhaust our budget this year. Which is sort of our goal right now, is we don't want to ever, you know, not have the money available for global grants, because some of it had to be allocated elsewhere to avoid it being returned to TRF. So, but just something for folks to be aware of, that we may be to the point where really it's advantageous for folks to get their global grant requests into the July or the summer or the fall meeting, so that they can be assured that we do have DDF to distribute. So here's what we have to distribute this year. And we have requests at this meeting for the 3 global grants that are going to be presented for $83,000. So it's pretty easy to do the math there and see that you know, we're going to be under $60,000 left after this meeting, should all go well. So we're going to start with Bob Nickel, who's presenting for the Rotary Club of Eugene. And he is presenting a project that takes place in Uganda, and which is working on cervical cancer. So Bob, take it away.
Thanks, Julie. Hi. Our project is a collaborative project with Larry Rhodes and Airport Rotary. And many of you know Larry and the work that Larry and Airport Rotary have done in the Tororo district of Uganda for many years. Our club has joined and supported many of those projects over the last 6 years or so. Related to that, we had the opportunity to send 2 members of the rural health team. This is a small group of what would be our clinicians, but like our nurses, practitioners, that kind of level of clinician, sent them to be trained in screening for cervical cancer. And the reason for a focus on cervical cancer is that it is the most common type of cancer in women. More than 95% of it is caused by the human papillomavirus, and can be, most, if not all cases, could be prevented by immunizing girls prior to the onset of sexual activity. Secondary prevention is available by a number of different strategies, including what we are going to use in our project called visual inspection with acetic acid, and then treatment of any precancerous lesions with thermocoagulation, so using heat. Let me back up for a second. In Uganda, cervical cancer is the most common type of cancer, the most common cause of death in women 15 to 44 years of age. And again, it's easily preventable by vaccination prior to onset of sexual activity. And secondary prevention is available by the strategies I just mentioned. we propose in our project to work with the district health officer to improve the access of girls to vaccination clinics. Uganda chose to use school-based clinics so that they could reach girls in rural areas. However, many factors resulted into poor access to these vaccinations. This includes girls who start menstruating and drop out of school, concerns about vaccines themselves, and just lack of information. Similarly, the two members of our rural health team who have been trained in doing cervical cancer screening with this VIA and then treating with thermal coagulation have had poor uptake to those clinics. And again, a lot of that is related to poor information. Cervical cancer is deadly because once it develops, there are few, if any, symptoms till it's well advanced. And so that screening is necessary for women. So all in all, our project is going to work with the district health officer to identify ways to improve vaccination for girls. We're going to work with the Sorority Club of the Rotary Club of Sorority, which is a district just north of Tororo in Uganda, to train girls in menstrual hygiene care, including making reusable pads and making liquid soap. The Sorority Club has done a very nice project of training girls to in these menstrual hygiene techniques through school-based clubs, and we're going to collaborate with them on their curriculum and materials and technical expertise. And we're also going to offer training in secondary prevention, this cervical cancer screening with visual inspection with acetic acid and thermal coagulation, to 15 additional providers. The impact of the grant will be quite extensive because it could impact once the training is completed and these providers are back screening regularly women in clinics. Thousands of women could benefit from this project. Of note, eradication of cervical cancer has become a major initiative of the World Health Organization, as well as more recently, the International Rotary Foundation has focused on cervical cancer prevention. So let me just stop there and I'll take questions. I'm sorry, it's kind of all over the place.
Well, Bob, first what I'd like to do, here's a summary slide of what you're asking for today. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Then I'm going to ask for a motion and then we'll do discussion. How's that?
Fine. So we have club cash of $15,000 and another $1,000 from the airport Rotary. And as you see on the slide, the request for district dedicated funds and then the subsequent world match.
And the one thing that I just want to point out here is that there's two ways that you can manage your funds once you're getting ready to fund the grant and it has been approved. One way is to send all the money to TRF. And under that situation, when we send all the money to TRF, then we have a 5% surcharge that's added into the club cash that we put in. The other option is to avoid that 5%, and it is to directly send the club cash right to the account that has been set up for the project. When that is an option, then the club cash doesn't gain any points from TRF. So there's two ways to go. And so in this case, Bob is suggesting that they're going to pay the 5% surcharge. So the 5% is just something that TRF helps them to fund some of the work of the regional grants officers as they review all of these projects.
Great, thank you for that. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the DDF request from the Eugene Rotary Club of $32,000.
So move.
Is that you, Tim?
Yes.
May I have a second?
I'll second. Hal.
Thank you, Hal. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we, this body approve 32,000 in DDF for the Eugene Rotary Club for their cancer prevention project in Uganda. Now we can open it up, Bob, for questions, please. Who's got a question for Bob?
There's a question here about motorcycles.
So this is to, yes, the rural health team has used motorcycles to reach some of the most rural areas in terms of some of their clinics. The one thing I should point out about the VIA, they're very cheap materials, easily transported, so they can be transported on a motorcycle. So some of their clinics are through motorcycles. Some of you are familiar with a previous airport grant where we purchased a mobile medical van. That does serve some of the outlying areas as well. But the previous motorcycles are in ill repair and need to be replaced. So that's the reason for the 2 motorcycles.
I have a question. This is Kathy from Southtown, Eugene, Southtown.
Good morning, Kathy.
Hi, and hi, Bob.
Hi, Kathy.
I was wondering technically how this works. We have the consortium with the Southern Regional Global Grant Committee. And Bob, I was sorry that none of us could attend your meeting this past week. Did you get the support from all the 7 clubs that are involved in our Southern region?
No, we're not up for the SVRGC is what Kathy's referring to. We have a consortium where one club gets the benefit, all the other 7 clubs supporting them. This, as you will see from the budget itself, Kathy, we only had funds from Airport Rotary, and that was outside of the SVRGC.
Okay, and we do have a global grant that we're covering this year from SVRGC, because I know there was a problem with one of our grants getting covered, and I wondered if this one might be moved into that slot.
So no, in fact, I'm waiting to hear back from Jocelyn about that.
Yeah, but the right now there's another club that is scheduled, so that hasn't changed yet. Okay, so and she's still doing Jocelyn's still doing the research on her project, and she's run into a few roadblocks, but I think it's still going to come forward, but I'm not positive about that.
Yeah, I know she's having trouble with the group in Africa getting the assessment from them.
Right.
Okay.
I'm optimistic that she's going to be successful.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor, or Tim, anything in the chat? Tim, I hear you talking, but I think you're muted.
Oh, I
Rob,
am. So there's a question about, is there any buy-in from Uganda district?
Excuse me, what's the question?
Is there money coming from Uganda, basically, I think is the question.
So the host club, being the Rotary Club of Tororo, yes, they are going to, it's not listed here. They will come up with $100.
Okay. So the other question is there any issues with the current tariffs hindering this grant?
So as everyone is aware, one of the major impacts worldwide has been the elimination of USAID supports for a variety of projects. USAID was helping out with the distribution of vaccines in Uganda itself. They need to be kept refrigerated even out to the rural areas. So the rural health team has had meetings with the district health officer about that issue, and that seems to be resolved in terms of strategies that have been developed. The rural health team has stepped forward to support the district health officer as needed with the distribution of some of those vaccines.
Thank you, Bob. Rob, did you have a question?
No, I actually was curious of whether the club or the district there had provided any resources, but that was answered. Thank you.
Yeah, great, thanks. Okay, hearing none, we have a motion on the floor to approve the 32,000 in DDF. Remember our buckets, this is coming from the global grant side. So I am going to put out a poll and invite you to record your response, please. Okay, last call, a couple more people haven't voted. I'm going to close it. Bob, congratulations. Have received your approval for your 32,000 in DDF.
Thanks to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Okay.
I just wondered possible learning experience. So the grant's been approved. What are the next steps for the people who haven't done this?
Well, the next steps, you know, and I was going to talk about this at the end, Tim, if that's okay, because I want to go over, you know, we talked about club qualification. I want to review some of the things that are necessary for global grants. So can I hold your wonderful question until the end?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Again, Bob and your club, congratulations. Okay, we have Mark from Ashland Lithia Springs. Julie?
Yeah, so this project is a continuation of the work that the city of Ashland, sister city of Guanajuato in Mexico, the work that we do together. And Mark accompanied me on my last visit to Guanajuato and developed a relationship with the club there. And so this is another water project from Guanajuato, but this time sponsored by our sister club in Ashland, the Rotary Club of Ashland Lithia Springs. And Mark is their international chair, so he is presenting this.
Okay. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Maybe we'll start out just for a little background. Well, before we even get to that, just a little bit of background for our club engagement. About 5 or 6 years ago, we kind of drifted away from engaging in international projects. And so it's just recently that we've kind of got a group together and decided that we want to regularly engage in international projects again. And I wouldn't be sitting here doing this except for Julie being almost full-time help to me. So I definitely want to give a shout out to Julie. I'm an honorary member of the Luddite group, and so needed a lot of help. And Julie's been there every step of the way, and I really appreciate it, including the invite she mentioned to go down to Guanajuato to see the projects that her Noon Club has worked on over the last couple of years. And what you see here is a picture of the gentleman who's the head of the Rotary Club in Guanajuato that her Noon Club partnered with and that we're seeking to partner with on this project. And to just give you an idea of the scope of the engagement that Julie has developed for Rotary in Guanajuato, to the gentleman's left in the red sweater there is the mayor of Guanajuato, and over his shoulder you can kind of see a blue dress is the governor of Guanajuato, and he's receiving a plaque recognizing his engagement. Julie also got a plaque on the water projects there in the Guanajuato region, in the outskirts of Guanajuato. So it's a big deal. There were TV cameras there, hundreds and hundreds of people. That's all the city council along the table there. And so the reputation that Rotary has gained and the respect and partnership is pretty amazing to see and experience. You want to go to the next slide? There you can see Julie there in the middle holding up a cerveza, and this is and some of you may know Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that Gabby there in the lower left? Some of the members of the club having a lunch meeting there.
That's Angelica.
Oh, that's Angelica, right, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to go to the next slide. This is a meeting that we had with the director of SIMPABAC, one of the two regional utility companies that partner on this project and previous projects. You can see Julie sitting there to the left, and the mayor sitting next to him. So this is a very professional partnership. These folks are the ones that are installing all the utilities in this region of Mexico. They know what they're doing. They've done it before. They're very effective in budgeting and planning, and present very detailed engineered proposals for consideration for this project. The next slide. This is an example of one of the installations that the Noon Club generated, and you can't really see the sort of the technical aspects of all the pumps and the solar energy for the pumps and the sophisticated piping that was required and valves and the like. But this is kind of a sample of the kind of work that they would do. Next slide. There's an example of a map where we get to see a very detailed layout of what's proposed. And then to your right, you see a spring. And part of the reason the Noon Club and we are engaged in this is obviously spring water is intermittent and it's subject to problems with local wildlife and the like. So the importance of establishing reservoirs to provide regularly available water and to make sure that there's filtration at the bottom end for those occasions when the animals get into the water stream so that they have potable water and regular water and not just erratic non-potable water is the contribution that this project seeks to address. Next slide. The communities are very much engaged, and I think it's particularly important to note that there was actually a project that we had lined up before the one that we're currently proposing that you approve that got rejected at the last minute. And the reason was that there were some members, the minority, but some members of the community that was going to be engaged on that project decided that they weren't comfortable with the government basically coming into their community. And so the Rotary Club there advised us of that, and they pulled that project. And this is an example of one of the Noon Club's project celebrations of completion, but community involvement, community engagement, making sure the community understands what's happening, that they're in support of it and in cooperation with it is a very important part of the partnership that we've built with the Guanajuato Club and Julie in particular, and the respect and that she's built up with these clubs in honoring the Rotary value of making sure communities are personally engaged. It isn't just an imposition of something that we think is good for them, but something that they also value and appreciate. Next slide. That's Julie and the head of the Rotary Club in Guanajuato, and this is the filtration system. This is the kind of station that they would install at the end of the project. We are not doing this in this project. They are doing this piece, this additional piece. We're doing the lines that come from the spring to a holding tank. We're proposing to install the holding tank and then the lines to the residences. But this would be an additional element that they are adding in, and this is where they come and fill up their containers and have their potable water. Next slide. And here's an example again of the community engagement and the publicity that Rotary gets as ambassadors of helpful sanitary projects in this area. I don't know if there's another slide, if that's the last one.
Nope, here's your slide for your budget.
Okay. So as you can see, that our club has come up with 9,000 out of our foundation account. We're making a DDF request of 18,000 and the World Fund match. And the Rotary Club of Guanajuato is contributing 1,000. And the total project value for, as I said, the installation of piping from the spring to new holding tanks and from the holding tanks to the residents is 42,000. But the important thing to know here is that this is only 1/3 of the immediate direct costs of those elements of the project. The SIMPAPAC and the environmental agencies, two different government agencies in Guanajuato, are supplying the other 2/3, 1/3 each. And then in addition to that, they're adding in the actual filtration stations. So we're getting an incredible multiplier, 4 or 5 time multiplier here in terms of what this operation would cost and the benefit it would deliver. There are about 125 folks that will be served by this. It's about an hour and a half outside of Guanajuato in a high rural country, about 6,500 feet. I made a big discovery when I went down with Julie that these springs are at the top of mountains, not at the bottom, and it's really quite a trek to get to the springs. Quite out of breath actually, but anyway, those are the basic highlights that I wanted to mention for your consideration, and this is something that is sort of in a cohort of projects that have been accomplished over the last 5 or 7 years with the Noon Club. And actually we partnered with the Noon Club about 5 or 6 years ago, but haven't done anything in between. So it's a well-trod path. People know what they're doing. They're professionals. The work is at the highest level, and we think it's a very worthwhile and professionally presented proposal.
Great, Mark. Thank you. So again, the DDF request you see on your screen is for 18,000. Same process as last time. I'm going to call for a motion to approve that in a second, and then we'll have discussion.
I'll move. Chris?
Thank you, Chris. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Jim. So it's been moved and seconded that this project move forward with a DDF of 18,000 from the district. I'm going to ask for any discussion, questions for Mark now, please.
I have one question because I'm doing a water project myself, or my club is Road Gateway Rotary in Cozumel, and we recently ran into an issue where we're using cisterns to collect rainwater. You will be having two 5,000 liter cisterns. The problem that we ran into was that the cisterns were ordered and custom made, and then when we received them, they were not properly, I don't know what it is, sealed or painted, so that when they went to use the system the first time, because of the heat, some algae became present into the cisterns. And so then when we went back to the supplier, which was Gaia Lab, they had gotten the cisterns from mainland Mexico, and they went back and said, well, the only cisterns that are made that are properly prepared like that for fresh water are 2,500 liter, and they didn't have graders. So we had to shut everything down, and then they had to disassemble and then redo the cisterns, and they've just recently reinstalled again. But I'm just making you aware, I didn't know if you have that problem with a 5,000 liter cistern. So I just would suggest that you clarify that before you get to the problem that we had.
Okay, definitely will do. They do, one of the advantages of this project is this is a sister project of 4 or 5 other projects that have been completed and successfully used for several years now. So definitely check into that. But off the top of my head, I think they have figured out how to provide a safe cistern system.
And then the other request I would have, if that's the case, I'd sure like to have the contact.
So we get all this stuff is through, so CEMAPAC is the municipal water agency that serves the city of Guanajuato and all the surrounding rural communities. And so they are the ones that procure all of the equipment that we need. And there's never been a problem like that before, Jim, and we've used this same type of cistern. So I don't know what happened for you, but we've never had that issue come up in all the other ones that we've done. But this again goes back to that value of partnerships, right? We've worked with them now for over 13 years on various water projects, to the point now where they're matching dollar for dollar all the global grant money that comes in to the Rotary Club of Guanajuato. So it's really pretty amazing, the partnership that exists there, the trust and the technical expertise that that they bring to these projects.
So Lee,
Yes.
2 questions. The first one is, well, a clarification. The total should be 42,400.
Oh,
Not
yep.
42,000.
Thank you. Checking my math.
So the next question is this body voting on just the DDF approval or the total project approval?
Approving the DDF.
Right.
Yeah, and Tim, to that question, we have access to the entire budget, and what we asked them to do was to delineate exactly where the Rotary part goes. When we have to do the report at the end of this, we really only need to report on the global grant funds. However, we certainly refer to the rest of the project in that reporting and in the application.
Right. So the next question is again about tariffs. If there's any issue with tariffs in this project.
Well, should not be.
Yeah, because all of the equipment is locally sourced. We've done, everything that we do is locally sourced. We don't bring anything in. It's all manufactured in Mexico, so there shouldn't be any issues.
Julie, I've got a comment, and I'll state it as a question to Mark, that part of the terms of a global grant that does involve a water project is having a hydrology study done, the engineering, to make sure that the project will be successful and not a dry hole, if you will. Has that happened through your partnership, or they already have a map? And
That is part of the proposal when they first bring it to us, and it includes all the water studies for heavy metals and the like. So that, yes, that is a part of the proposal that they present to us.
great, thank you. Other questions? I'm going to call for the vote. Tim, anything?
Nope.
Okay. Oh, I've got to clear this. Hang on a second. Leanne's got to figure out what she's doing.
Her voice is all shaking. Is she the one that is right on the property?
Sorry, I'm having to recreate this. Something happened. Okay.
And while you're doing that, I saw the question that was in the chat. I just want to remind people, this is not in Guatemala. This is in Guanajuato, Mexico. So it is not, it's a project in Mexico, not in Guatemala.
So can you see the poll?
No.
Just ask for a hand vote.
Well, we're going to have to, because something I don't know.
You have to stop screen share.
No. Don't understand.
Last one worked with
I know, but
Your
this
little
one I'm not getting, it's the box is grayed out. I mean, I'm seeing it. I created a new one. I'm puzzled.
I never saw the vote the last time. This is Holly Cabell. All the slides stayed up there on my screen the whole time.
Yeah, mine opened up.
Oh, here it is. It's up now.
Okay.
Okay.
That's up. Sorry, you guys. That was a juggle. Okay, last call. I'm going to end the poll. Share the results. Now, can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So congratulations, Mark. You're on your way.
Okay, so let's move to our final project for the day, and this is from the Jacksonville Applegate Club. And this is a part of the Southern Oregon Global Grant Consortium. So another one of those consortium grants where 8 clubs in our region participate, and each of us put $1,000 in a year to support a club. And the philosophy of our consortium was to try to get clubs that had not submitted or had not submitted in quite some time a global grant, and to use the local expertise to help support and help those clubs and mentor them so that they feel comfortable in that attempt. So we have Sherry available to present this project, which is furnishing a high school I'm gonna let Sherry introduce it. Go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah, I can just add on to that, please, Sherry, before you present it. This is the third global grant coming out of that consortium.
That's correct.
Okay,
Great.
Sherry, it's
Thank
all
you.
yours.
Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to present our very, very first
Global Grant out of Jacksonville Applegate Rotary Club. And I'd just like to echo Mark's sentiment that I could not have even begun the first step without Julie's help. So thank you, Julie, for walking me through this. I feel like I'm not even a baby. I'm still a neonate in doing global grants, but I learn as I go. Edelac is the school of the street, and about 30 years ago, they were teaching, the teachers were teaching 4 and 5 children at a time on street corners. So it truly was Escuela de la Calle. Over these 30 years, they now have, I think we could go on to the next slide. They have educated children from, oh, well, first of all, let me tell you where Quetzaltenango, or also known as Chela, is located. It's about a 5.5 to 6 hour drive from Guatemala City, which is off a little bit to the south and east. So thank you. The travel there is by bus or car. There are helicopters that you can use to get there, but generally speaking, people traverse that one road between Guatemala City and Chela. Next slide. Over the last 30 years, Escuela de la Calle has educated children from kindergarten to middle school, which now includes a building with 7 classrooms, a large courtyard for recreation recess, an 8,000 book library. They also have administrative and social work offices. So one of the really big parts of the school is not just education for kindergarten through middle school, but social interaction programs for parents. This project will be involved with the new secondary school that will be built adjacent to the elementary and middle school. And the problem for education in Guatemala is, and especially in Chela, which has pockets of abject poverty, once the children leave middle school, if they don't have transportation into the next larger area, into Chela, where there's a high school, they're basically finished. They have no place to go. And the purpose of this was to try to keep children off the streets when they become teenagers. So the idea here now is to support these children all the way through high school, and then they can move on. Next slide. Our project, the Global Grant, will be used to provide the new secondary school library with all the books that they need, including computers, and also to equip all the classrooms with everything they need, desk supplies, computers. We need to also include teacher training and student educational materials as part of our grant. We have the host Rotary Club of Chela, which is Las Rosas Rotary Club, will be the management of the grant. They have done previous global grants, so we're comfortable that this project will be well managed. I have actually met with the last president because I was down there in January. I met the immediate past president and the foundation chair. So we've had our personal interaction, and I feel comfortable that the Rotary Club is qualified to do the grant. Also, once the school is built, there will be many opportunities for us as Rotarians to travel down to Chela and help put the whole classrooms together and do whatever kind of volunteer work that is needed to make the school ready for students. Next slide. Our visitation team on the left are bookended Rotarians. I'm there, and then on the far right is Delando Pagan, who is one of the local Rotarians from here. On my left is the social worker, and then his intern that is there for this semester. On the right is tall man Christian, who was our interpreter, and he was just an absolutely wonderful person. We met with families in these impoverished areas and learned their stories. They don't speak any English at all, and my Spanish is very rudimentary. So Christian was really elemental in helping us understand how the school has made a difference in these families' lives. Next slide. A couple of the families that we met with, Mara Valencia is a single mom. She extricated herself from an abusive situation. She has 3 children and now is basically totally alone because her family disowned her for not staying with her husband, who was an abuser. She had 3 children. 2 of them, 9-year-old and 6-year-old, are currently in the school. Her baby died during the COVID epidemic, but mom also went to Edilac and is raising her children to be educated at Edilac. And actually, when she was in school, she was the girls' president. She now supports herself with the most incredible embroidery. And this is, skills that she learned by having gone to school in Edilac. So she's doing actually quite well with her embroidery. The one part of her story, though, she has an old Singer sewing machine, which has a broken part. And if she could afford the part, there's nothing available. So she's doing all hand embroidery now and, makes very beautiful table linens. And her new thing is personalized belts. So this belt was made for a person named Moray. Next slide. Another family that we visited, and a big success story. We were there in the afternoon, so her daughter, who is 11, was at home with her, had been to school in the morning. But Anna also went to Edilac as her training, her education. Her brother, and her siblings, her brother went through Edilac, got his high school education and college, and now he's in nurses training. So just the stories that we heard of children and adults who would have had no opportunity to do anything other than just work on the streets or be on the streets, and the success that they have now because they were able to get a primary education. Next slide. This is one of the classrooms at the current elementary school, the 5th grade. And these desks are really creative because you can see on the far right, they can take triangles put together and make squares or circles. These are all new desks that they've purchased for the elementary school. And it makes a real opportunity for kids to either work individually or to combine in groups to do their work. Next slide. And one of the really impressive parts is the school is not just reading, writing, and arithmetic, but they also have art classes and music. And these 2 marimbas were made for the school, and the children played for us and made beautiful music on the traditional instrument of Guatemala with traditional songs. Next slide. Our budget for the project will be DDF request of $35,000. We have club cash of $12,500. We'll be doing the world match of 0.8 or 80%. The Rotary Club of San Fernando has promised $2,500. My club has offered to match whatever I can raise, they will match. So I need an additional $5,000 to make this project go, and we'll end up with $83,000 to equip the new high school with books for the library, computers, teacher training material, student educational materials, and all of the essentials that will fill out the school.
Just want to remind everyone, the way this works is the first thing that we'll do is make a motion to approve the DDF allocation for this grant. And once approved, then if this is a project that your club would like to support, you'll have an opportunity to let Sherry know that. But we need to do the approval first. So do the motion, Leanne.
Yeah, I'd like a motion from the floor, please, to approve the DDF request of $35,000.
And make a motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Cindy O'Neill. Cindy, I had you down for first, so.
Oh, okay. I
Help
thought
me.
I was, okay.
All I'm hearing is voices, so somebody second, please.
Valerie Lovelace, second.
Thank you, Valerie. Moved and seconded. Now we'll open it up for questions for Sherry.
One thing I'd like to point out before we go any further is just, if we were just buying books and equipment here, this would not qualify as a global grant. There has to be a strong education component for the teachers and the staff that will be utilizing these materials. And so you notice that there was a line item in the budget for that. I just wanted to let everyone know that that's going to be a key component in the application. Is we just can't buy things for people. We have to make sure that to make it sustainable, the teachers need to be trained. There needs to be support for the utilization of the materials as well.
Great point,
Yes,
Julie.
and I thank you for that, Julie. I have been in touch with the NGO, and they have allocated not only money for teacher training, but also contracts to maintain the computers that are purchased so that they don't just sit on a table and now they don't work anymore. So there's a contract for computer maintenance as well.
Tim, any other questions showing up?
Yeah. Hal wants to know if does the club have 50% of club cash before presenting?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Please say that again.
$7,000 of the club cash came from the consortium, and 5,500 is coming from the the Jacksonville Applegate Club to make the 12.5.
Hal, do you want to make another comment?
No, that's good. I was just going on what was said about needing more or wanting cash from the Jacksonville Club, that they were going to match 50%.
Oh, I see. Okay. Hey, Tim, any other questions?
No.
All right, I think I can figure out how to relaunch the poll for voting.
I see a question that came up about locally sourcing. That's something that's required by a global grant, that we locally source. If there's some reason we can't do it, like it might be a piece of sophisticated technical equipment that isn't provided in the country, but all in a global grant, the emphasis is always using local materials whenever possible. If you have to go out of country or out of region to get the things, you have to really explain why that was necessary. So yes, these will all be locally sourced materials.
Good, thank you. Well, I hope you can see that, Sherry. Congratulations. We had 100% approval of your DDF request.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So now Julie and I will ask if you would like to support this project by adding the needed cash of $5,000.
Medford Rogue will give 500.
Albany will do 500.
Eugene Metro will do 500. This is Holly Cabell.
Hi, this is Jim Lefebvre, and I've already talked with Tommy Drake. Rogue Gateway will give 500, and Tommy Drake will give individually 500.
Alan Francie will give 500.
Where are we, Leanne?
Just a minute, I'm writing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
3,000 committed, 2,000 left needed.
3,000 at this point.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Did you get ours, Leanne?
Yes, sir.
Redmond will give 500.
Thanks, Marv.
Last call, any others?
Eugene Rotary will give 500.
Okay, that's 4,000. Nicely done.
So the way this works is that we'll go ahead and approve the DDF, and then now Sherry needs to raise another $1,000 to before that DDF is awarded. So thank you all of you for participating and helping that. That's a big hole that's just been filled. Raising $1,000 is a lot easier than 5,000. So thank you for that. You know.
Absolutely.
I wanted to go back to Tim's question that came up earlier about qualifications for global grants. And so one of the main things that people need to do when they are qualifying for a global grant is complete the grant management seminar, which is in the Learning Center for TRF. And you go on to Into My Rotary, you go into the TRF section of the Learning Center, and then you'll find the grant management seminar. This is something you must do every year. There's one course that you take, which is pretty extensive, and you need to take that. But then, since we're in a new Rotary year, all of us that have taken that course prior to this that are going to write global grants have to go in and be recertified. It's pretty short. Bob, I think it took you 5 minutes. Bob Nickel, I sent him a thing and said, you need to do this. And I think within 10 minutes, I had it back. So, you know, it's not a big deal, but you have to do that. And so that is required. If you've never done a global grant, that course is very helpful for you to start understanding some of the complexities of what needs to get done when you do a global grant. The other thing is that you need to be up to date in all the other things that were mentioned earlier for district grants. Your club needs to be qualified for that. The MOU needs to be in, your dues need to be paid. You need to be up to date on all your grant reporting. If it's a global grant and you have an outstanding global grant, like for instance, Bob Nickel has that right now, the grant that he has needs to, that is not quite completed yet, needs to be up to date on their reporting. So just to remind folks about that. The other thing I always want to emphasize is that a global grant does not start with a good idea that someone in 5110 has. A global grant starts by a needs assessment in the host country that identifies the needs of that community and that club, and that we can then help do that. Many times people come to me with an idea that they have, working with a nonprofit or an NGO in the host country, but there's been no involvement of the local Rotary Club or surveying of the local community. What we know is what the nonprofit needs, and that is not the right way to go about this. That community needs assessment needs to be completed prior to you doing any work on a global grant, so that you know that you're meeting the needs that that community has identified as their needs, not what we as international Rotarians think they should have. So just a reminder about that as well. I'm here to help you if you're thinking about doing a global grant. Please let me know and I can walk you through the steps. One of the reasons I don't give you the pre-proposal form, it's not easily accessible, you have to get it through me, is to make sure that those steps have been taken, that you have done a needs assessment, that the project that you're proposing qualifies. I don't want you to go down too far if you are thinking of a great project, but unfortunately it doesn't qualify for a global grant. And so I kind of closely hold those pre-proposal forms until I know that we're working on a project that can be successful for you and for your club. So that's all I had to say, Leanne.
Great. Well, Julie, thank you. Great wrap up.
Broken record.
Yeah, no, that's great. And thank you for all the work you did. Obviously, they all really appreciated your sage advice and getting them up to through this process. And then congratulations to all three of our clubs that got their project approved and the DDF funding made available. So now more work begins with that. And this is why I love this meeting. I mean, you heard all of the support that Jacksonville Applegate Club got for their project coming from all the sister clubs around the district. So thank you. Big thank you for that. Rick, I'm going to turn it over to you for the last word this morning.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that's been on, and you've all hung in the whole meeting. Where obviously Leanne runs a very good meeting. We're going ahead of schedule. But for those of you particular that this is your first time, I mean, the ability for you to go back to your clubs and help relate the good that Rotary does and how we get together and how we just saw that we step up and help each other. And there were people I know that came prepared from their club to offer some additional help and funding. But for those of you that are the first time, tell people how great this is and what we're doing. And one, we need projects. You know, this year we're filling them out. Next year we'll be doing them. But the reality is, hopefully you'll all see that we have a mechanism in place to be able to fund the good that you want to have done. If you come up with an idea, we should be able to do it through. But again, you can see we have an incredible support team that is there to answer every question you have. And just thank you all for taking time on a Saturday morning. And Leanne, as always, you know, this doesn't happen without your great guidance and oversight and keeping us on task.
Well, thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. It's always fun. Well, we're going to end with these good words. Thank you all, everybody. Go great. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon and take care of yourselves. Stay well hydrated, and we will see you soon. Thank you.